My name is Greg Mitchell and my job is to make people awesome. And as you walked in, I checked out how awesome you are. Some of you are fabulous. I did a little check with you as you walked in. I did the little smile check. I do this with organisations all over Australia. I live in Perth, but I travel constantly. Tuesday was Albany and Thursday was Broome this week. So I'm always on the move. Next week is Sydney. And my job is, as I said, to make people wonderful. And every time I walk into a training institution of some way, shape or form, I give them the test. And the great lecturers go, "How are you?" And they acknowledge your presence. And the bad lecturers go, "Who's the guy in a suit?" Because the interesting thing is great lecturing and great teaching starts well before they actually get into your room. It happens at the gate. It happens when you see them in the corridors. It happens when you acknowledge people. And what makes great teaching and great lecturing work is actually a simple science. But the trouble is with it is we get so busy doing the busyness that we forget about the business. You ever done that thing where you walk into McDonald's? You know McDonald's, that low-fat options place? Where you walk in and you walk up to the counter and you smile and all these little Mac people are busy. They're doing the busy walk. You know the busy walk? I hope the camera can keep up here. This is when if you get enough speed in your feet, you don't have to make eye contact. Teachers do this, they can walk past a massacre on duty. I'm standing there going, and there's this big line of people behind me and this big truck is going, "Touch me, mate, can you see me? Am I real?" And then I look for the boss, and you know the boss because she's got the hooky thing on her head, and I give her the look. You know the look? Every teacher's got the look. You do the wrong thing, I won't have to yell, I'll just... You even do that when you're driving? You know, you're driving, someone chops you up. I was on the freeway just over here and this lady chopped me off, zoomed up, gave her the look, and it was a nun. Still got a few things to learn. But I went, and she looks over and goes, "I'm Michelle." And Michelle, bless her little 14-year-old heart. And Michelle's awesome. She's been trained beautifully. She just missed one little point. And so she does this great job. "Would you like it?" Oh, it's terrific, but I'm a teacher. And I use that teacher voice and I go, "Michelle, you did a fabulous job, but couldn't you see everybody lined up over here?" And she goes, you might find this really hard to believe, but sometimes we've got more important things to do than serve customers." Which was, to me, seems the point of all of McDonald's, right? Is to serve customers. But she just missed it. And that's what happens too often in our organisations. We are so busy doing the busyness. We give somebody a training package and I've got to get through it. That we forget about the business. You can cover everything you like in your training package and nobody learns anything. You can be AQTF'd out of your brain and have all of those boxes ticked and everything done and still nobody learns it. And what I want to show you today is a teaching framework that helps us look at what are the strategies that work. But before we even look at this, we've got to get our strategies right. Because if you're not positive, you're not going to do this. Because what often happens is when we look at things, so you ever seen this one done? This is pretty simple. If I draw a big blue rectangle here and put a blue dot in the middle, what can you see in that rectangle? Blue dot. You missed all the white dots. There's a bazillion white dots in this rectangle, but we usually focus on what's negative. I can't teach this because, look, I've only got to use PowerPoint and I've got all of this and this technology is stupid. I've got this one bloke in my... I just don't want to teach him anymore. I'm just sick of it. She parked in my parking space, bitch. We look at that black dot and we turn this into all sorts of problems instead of saying, what are the white dots? What is the good stuff we've got that can make us a great institution? What are the good things that we do? And in this room, there's tons of talent. Watching online, there's tons of talent. How do we get to use it? First thing we've got to do is we've got to build organisations which are able to work together, not apart. I described yesterday, I was working in Broome yesterday with a mob of trades lecturers, a whole group of different people on this stuff. They had a whole day with it. You've got 45 minutes. But as I described, primary schools are like women's brains. Everything's connected to everything and it works with emotions. And everybody knows what's going on and everybody keeps everybody in the loop. High schools are like men's brains. Everything's in a box. And it's a labelled box, and we're only going to talk about what's in this box because I only teach maths, so I don't want to talk to you about English. TAFEs and training institutions are like autistic men's brains. Not only are we in a box, we are obsessed with our own box. This is what I'm really good at. No, I don't want to talk about that. Instead of realising that there's a whole business that fits across all the top of it. And that business is what makes us great teachers. What makes us good. Not what makes you bad. I'm not going to pick on anybody's ability to teach because everybody's got stuff that they bring, particularly their expertise. But I don't know anybody who can't get better as a teacher, including myself. So what I'm going to show you here is some beautiful summer shorts. That was me in Broome on Cable Beach, a little dressed, overdressed, beautiful painting. But first do this, put your hands in the air like that. Reach over to the people on either side of you, people online, you can do the same. Pat them on the back and say, it's good to see you today. And let's see, because if I was going to do this with your organisation, I would spend a good session on positive psychology. How can we be a team? How can we work together? How can we move people around? I do a simple little thing called a 1-minute autobiography, where you tell somebody the story of your life in 30 seconds. And guess what? Nobody ever knows anybody. Even people who've worked together, I do it with husbands and wives, and they don't know each other. Halfway through it, you always get a wife going, I didn't know that. And you always get a bloke going, well, we don't get a minute to talk to each other, which is probably true because they're so busy doing the busyness that they don't do the business. I've been married for 40 years to a beautiful woman and I'm still on the honeymoon. I still love my wife with all my heart. Why? Because we take time to be there for each other, even if it's only an hour whilst I jump off one plane to another. But to be fully there. When we have a look at what makes great teaching work, it's incredible. If we have a look at Train Like a Champion, where I got the idea from was fairly simple. I do a lot of teaching with teachers in classrooms. And in fact, the best stuff I do is when I hop into a training organisation or a thing and teach something for you. And you get to watch me. Because then you can pick on me quite happily. And then we can talk about what works for you and what's difficult for me and stuff like that. And when we look at this, you notice when people are teaching that there's some people who just stand out from the crowd, don't you? Have you had a lecturer that was great for you? Did you have a teacher that made a difference for you? Did you have somebody who just sticks in your mind? Like we've all had hundreds of teachers in our lives. But how many of them stick with you? And there's one or two that just stand out from the crowd, that are just in your heart. Paul Gavin, the guy who taught us music, who was never trained to be a teacher, but used to be a singer. He actually sang in a black and white minstrel show and stuff like that. And he's famous because we hear him every football year because he sang all of the theme songs of the footy clubs. And I can't sing a note, yet he taught me how to stand up in front of people and talk. People like that, who would not have even noticed me probably, but make a difference. And when you look at these people, you ever wonder how they did it. How did they get that? How come they can walk in with that mob of pre-jail students and just get them in the palm of their hands, right? You okay there? Look where... Talk about pre-jail students. They're breaking the furniture and throwing it at us. I think you should sit on another one. But when we have a look at it, you often think, how did they do that? Because it seems like magic. Now, this guy, Doug Lemov, in the States, worked for an organisation, he was the CEO of an organisation called Uncommon Schools. They were a charter organisation. Now, what happened in the States is that government schools weren't working. They were really costing a lot of money, and they kept putting more money into it, and it was going no good. So that was not very good English, but I finished it that way because I'm online and I'm nervous. But what they did is that he started out thinking, well, what is it that makes a school? They had funding from the federal government to start schools which were targeted to a charter. And the charter was for them, how do we get poor kids to go to college, university? Kids from the worst backgrounds, and they're from New Jersey, New York, Boston area. How do we do that? And the money was for the bricks and mortar. They bought land, often in the poorest places in town, so they got more land, and they built really good schools because that's where the poor kids were. They hired the best teachers they could do, and they popped them in, and these schools looked fabulous. But there was a problem. After about 6 months, these teachers, because they were good teachers, kept saying, we love your charter, we love the idea, but how do you do this? And he had one of those times where he was asked, because he was great at setting up schools, to go and consult with other schools. And he'd been to a school in Syracuse, and he'd been in that school where they had all of this money, best teachers, all of these kids there, and the kids weren't paying a single jot of attention. And he went and looked at some classrooms, and he went home depressed, thinking, what am I going to tell these people? We've got everything, they've got everything right there, but it's not working. And then he had a staff room conversation. You know those ones where you sit down next to someone, where you're a little depressed and you're talking about things? And he sat down next to a guy who he knew was a really good teacher. And he said to him, how do you get kids to listen to you? Because when you stand up, they listen to you. What do you do? And this guy said, oh, you've got to use a strong voice. He said, but you don't yell. He said, no, it's a strong voice. He said, what's a strong voice? He said, you've got to stand still. You've got to square your shoulders up, because if you talk whilst you're walking, they don't think it's important. You talk at them, you look at them when you do it, make eye contact and spell it out nice and slow. And he thought, doesn't every teacher know this? But as he went around classes, it's obvious that some people didn't do it. And they'd been teaching for years and stuff. And he thought, why don't we just research it? Let's find some really good teachers. And in the States, thanks to their horrendous measurement program, they know who the good teachers are and who the bad ones are. We know what makes good teachers, because what they knew was from the data was that if you looked at them, there were some teachers spread out amongst a whole different set of organisations and stuff who had kids from really poor backgrounds who performed not just above state average but above national average for long periods of time, not just for a couple of weeks but for years. So they said, let's go and find them. Let's find everybody who fits our demographic and we'll go and talk to them. Now, as you know, when you talk to anybody in the staff room, they're always great teachers. But what Lemov did was brilliant. They interviewed them and then they videoed them and they analysed what they did. And Lemov said, I didn't invent any of this, I just caught it and wrote it down. Because his strength is analysis. And after writing it down, going through, a number of these teachers were isolated. Because when you're a great teacher, often the other people don't like you. Nobody likes you when you say, I didn't have any trouble with them last year. No, you always go, but often they were just teaching by themselves alone. But when they analysed what they did, they noticed that across all of these teachers there were some clusters of strategies. Eventually they identified 49 different strategies. Not one of these teachers taught all 49, but they had significant amounts of these strategies that they all had. So they put it into a book and taught it to their teachers. Uncommon Schools is one of the second 2 or 3 highest performing charter schools in all of the states, and they are growing rapidly. They have as many as 40,000 students, and they're growing constantly. And they're built on this concept that the difference is not about who the trainer is, but what the trainer does. And that what they're focused not on is what are the good trainers, we need to hire them, but how can we make the trainers we've got good trainers? So, they looked at the tricks that they used. What was it that they did to make them stand out? Yes, that guy wasn't just attached to the wall. There was a trick. And they looked at the skills that they had. Now that's skillful, look at that. That takes hours of practice to stack bricks like that and to walk with your arms through the hole. And they came up with a book called Teach Like a Champion. Now I'm going to show you very rapidly today this set of strategies and teach it to you. As you know, we don't have a lot of time. So I'm not going to be terribly in depth. But the challenge to me is not that I want you necessarily to take these strategies on. I want you to think about them and look at them. If you contact us afterwards, we will send you the notes. You don't have to buy the book. They're all online. They're easy to get. And what I like about this book is it's not about ego. It's just about he wrote them down. It's not Doug Lemov's Teach Like a Champion. It's Teach Like a Champion by Doug Lemov. But what I would like to say to you is, after we've had a look at this, the challenge is for organisations such as yours, is what is it that makes a great teacher or a trainer in your organisation? And are there a common set of skills and strategies that work across them? And how could we observe and measure those and make those work and turn them into perhaps our future? Without egos, without saying you're a bad teacher, just saying, have you considered these? So we end up with train like a champion. My Photoshop skills aren't that good. I thought it was good that it moved, eh? So, when we have a look at it, they found out that there are 7 areas that great teachers work in. First, they design for high expectations. If you have low expectations, the chances are it doesn't matter how good you teach, they're not going to get there. And in fact, when we have a look at strategy 1, which we'll look at very soon, it's the deal breaker. Because it all depends on whether you believe your students can learn or not. Or whether you walk into a group and just see the black dot in there and give up, instead of seeing their strengths. See, if I said to you, what is it more important to do? Is it more important to fix a weakness or develop a strength? Which one would you go for? You're teachers, that's good. We've got the functioning ones in here. Sometimes we get people who get sent to be fixed, but you seem good. If you ask 80% of anybody just cold with that in Australia, you get 80% of people in Australia say start from the weakness. But you're 40 to 100% more likely to teach a skill if you start from a strength, depending upon the skill. And we've got to use that advantage. Planning. How do we set our plans up to actually teach for excellence? How do we get that to do? What do we need to do to make it work? And structuring and delivering lessons, which you're going to see a big slice of in the plenary this afternoon, because I'm going to take one hook out of that, which is the big one. How do you hook people in? And flood you with hooks to finish the day. And offer you 500 different clips that you can use and 30 different websites and a few other cool things. Because that usually is our bread and butter. They found that great teachers engage students, and engaging people is difficult. Let's see how engaged you are. Just look at the person next to you quickly. Reach over, shake hands with them. Hold on to that hand, hold on to that hand. Shake hands in the middle there, I'm watching. Slip your hand up to their wrist. Check to see if they've got a pulse. If they've got a pulse, turn their hand over, look them in the eye and say, will you marry me? See, now you're fully engaged, right? Engaging students is how do you marry them to what you are doing? And this is not about exciting things. It's about making them accountable and interested and hooked in. Strong classroom culture. In a strong classroom culture, you don't have to teach that much. You'll start teaching straight off very directly, and in the end, they'll take over the teaching. Because you get that balance between teaching and learning. There's some classes you can teach like hell and they learn nothing. And there's sometimes when we sweep around, when we get that great class. And usually it's not the smartest class, it's the class who knows how to get along. They've got a strong classroom culture. And they don't have to teach much and they learn heaps. High behavioural expectations. Now, for some of us, that's not an issue because we're dealing with adult classes all the time. But if you are working with the apprentice, felons, you're going to need some behaviour management stuff. How do I deal with difficult behaviours? Because they're around. And it's getting harder because we're getting more kids in the system who really don't know what they want to do, but their parents have enrolled them in something. So they're doing the left-handed knitting for Gay Wales course because mum doesn't want them on the street, right? And finally, building character, because let's face it, great teachers and great organisations expect good character from the people they work with. So, let's have a look. For this, you need to find a partner quick. Move around. I don't want you sitting with the people you came in with. Everybody move chair quick. Now, oh look, I'm sorry, the good partners go quick, mate. But it's okay, we'll find you. Slip over here, do it trio. Oh, there you go. Awesome. Now, pretty simple. What's going on here? I did a bit of mathematics. We got 49 strategies to get through in roughly 20 minutes, which equates to 24.4897 seconds per strategy. I'm not going to be big on depth, but I expect you to learn them. I'll show you some different strategies along the way that work. But pretty simple. Let's have a look at the first slice. Now, for one of my schools that I worked with who adopted this strategy, who were very, very poor school, very Western Sydney, outer suburbs, edge of nowhere, known as the colouring in school. A lot of trailer park trash. Tough school. That was 1 year's work, that page. Getting every teacher and every kid and every parent to understand, one, there's no opt-out. I was working in Broome yesterday. Got a whole bunch of kids who have been trained to opt out. Do this. I can't do that. Won't make eye contact. Lockdown. And we've lost the courage to challenge those kids. We tend to leave them drift. So in my classroom, I have a rule. No opt-out means no hands up ever. If I'm going to ask you a question, I'm going to ask you a question. No hands up. And I tell them I'm going to pick on the scared ones first. And if I make you cry, good. If I get you upset, terrific. Get your parents involved, we'll have a chat. Because my job is not to be nice to you, it's to believe that you are a good person worth educating. My aim for every student is to be capable and fulfilled. And because I have high expectations, I expect you to answer a question. And I pick on them. So here's a scared one. What's the answer to this? And the first thing that they will do is go, they'll think. Think looks like this. Sounds like this. And then what I want them to become is metacognitive, which means when they start thinking about the thinking, right? So I go, what's the answer to this? And then you say, because what you're thinking is there's a brain in here and it's empty. So say, I don't know. Excellent. When someone says, I don't know, celebrate. They've just gone from being unconsciously incompetent to consciously incompetent. You've made a big step. Who could you find out from? She knows. No. She knows. No. She knows. Yes. You teach her. You teach her. Now what's the answer? Yeah. So sometimes the answer might be as simple as, I'll give you the answer, but give it back to me. But there's no opt-out. You must answer. Because I won't insult you by asking you a question and not expecting you to answer it. This is huge. That one strategy can change the whole of everything. As I said, in one school, it took a whole year to get to it. It wasn't like, snap, you've got to work on it.
But also you've taken them from being apathetic.
Yeah, well, they're engaged. Yeah. And what happens with this is if you're going to do that, right's got to be right. So none of this fluffing around where the kid makes a mistake. No, oh, that was a really good try. I have seen people say a kid gives you the wrong answer and they've gone, oh, thank you for that. Now, what she meant to say was... Because they're too scared to correct, right? Right is right. That's right. Well done. Move on. That's wrong. Move on. Find the answer out from someone else. Expect them to answer. Stretch it. So when you take a simple thing, so if I pick on you, what do you like to eat? Everything. Everything. Now that's beautiful, but it's a one question answer, one word answer, right? I want you to stretch it, and I want the format that matters. The language of success in Australia is standard Australian English. So I want you to answer in a sentence. Can you just give me that answer in a sentence?
I like to choose everything in the realms of gluten-free and healthy food.
Excellent. So she just went from a baby's response to a primary school response. Let's take you up to a high school response. I like to eat everything I like to eat, gluten-free and a whole range of good things, because. So give me a because on there. Start from the beginning. I like to eat.
I like to eat everything that's gluten-free and healthy for me because it makes me feel good and I can function better.
Oh, you did a double there, which is excellent. You went up to university straight away. Because you've got, I like to eat because and. 3-step sentence. You want to go to Genius?
Sure.
Genius? Starts good. Because this is how it happens in the classroom when you're first doing it. And it works. I want you to go from, I like to eat because and that was an and. That was an and. Give me an and. You had an and.
And it makes me feel better and function well.
Okay. And now give me a but.
But sometimes the chocolate enhances me.
Exactly. Now, That was a struggle, but we got there. But what happens with the stretch is it's going to be a struggle. Why? Because it's a stretch. So we're going to have to go back and get it. But I put that expectation out there, and I'm going to stretch you. Guess what? Next time they answer in a sentence. Then I can get a because. That's a slapper. That says because. Then I can get an and but. I get 3 of those sentences. Guess what? I got a beautiful, because I believe every teacher teaches reading and writing. I got a beautiful sentence. I got 3 of those. I got a beautiful paragraph. I got 3 of those paragraphs. I've got an essay. We're ready to go to university. We're ready to hit the top. And I can start that from kindergarten. I can show you kindergarten kids who stand up and answer and can actually write it down. And I've got kids in TAFE where people haven't even got that expectation. Format matters. Make sure it's said in a full sentence. And every single one of you, no matter what you teach, has got a format that matters for you. This is the way it's done in your organisation or your thing or your trade or your place that you work. And let's stop apologising. Let's stop saying sorry for having high expectations. I even heard a lecturer say the other day, I'm sorry, but I won't apologise. I was working with one of the aviation companies, and the biggest thing, the biggest mistake that the young cabin staff meant is that, oh, I'm sorry, can I just move over? I'm sorry, can you move over? Just say what you want. Expect it to happen. Use a strong voice, it'll happen. So, what I want you to do is this. Do a quick TTYPA. That's turn to your partner and. I want you to see if you can understand those 5 strategies. If you're real quick, you get to choose one that you like that you're going to use. You ready? Talk to your partner, quick, off you go. All I want you to do is to engage, right? If we're doing this, I do this as a whole day with lots of people and we go in depth. Not a big amount of depth, but enough to start the process. Planning. When we plan for success, it starts with begin with the end in mind. The old Stephen Covey stuff. Start to plan. What is it you want from your students by the end of this lesson, this session, this year, this term, this semester, whatever. End of the course. Know what you're aiming for because you can't hit a target that you can't see. If you haven't put that out in front of it and post it, stretch number 8, put it on the wall. Make sure they know what it is. This is what we're aiming for. If you watch me teach a lesson with a group of kids, if you watch me teach a lesson with a group of kids, it's going on. This is the social skill I want from you. This is the content that I want you to learn. And these are the strategies I want you to use. And if I've got an interactive whiteboard, I keep that. So I can go back to any lesson because it's always posted. And and wherever you work should be a little learning journey. Put it on the wall. That's what we learnt day 1. That's what we learnt week 1. This is it. So a kid can come in, missed a lesson. Oh, hang on, what did you learn? Oh, we did that. And you can see the learning taking place. And the 4 M's talk about how do you set up those things that you're going to post. So what are your objectives? So the first objective is make your planning first. That's the first one. Don't plan afterwards. It's very easy to do with training packages because you know what's coming. But what's going on here? How do I plan for that? Is this what is most important or am I just filling in air here? Is it measurable? And is it meaningful? If your outcomes have those 4 things in them, you've got a good chance that you can post it and they can hit that target. Figure out the shortest path to get to those targets. Could I do without this bit? Could I do without that bit? And double plan. Plan not just what am I going to teach, how am I going to teach it? What are the strategies I'm going to use? How do I keep them awake after lunch? Where am I going to put that little clip in so that they go, oh, that was terrific? How am I going to welcome them into my classroom? That sort of stuff. And draw the map. And the map is, how do they sit when they learn? What's going on in your workshop? Where are they going to stand? How are the crews going to work? Where are the teams going to sit? If I've got them sitting in rows facing the front, that's great if it's coming off the board. If I want them to talk, I've got to move it out. If I want them to write, take my desk, put them against the wall, facing outwards. Get everybody to write at the same time so that nobody's interrupting each other. Plan your workspace so that it serves you, not hinders you. Don't just sit and complain about it. Quickly, turn to your partner, see if you can understand those ones. I'm tipping it in. We've still got tons to go. Four M's. Made first, most important, and measurable. Meaningful and measurable. Made first. Yeah, so you've got to make your plans first. So don't do it as you go along. Make sure you've got them there. Okay. And meaningful. Made first, most important, measurable, meaningful. Okay, back to here. Sorry about this. But there's lots of different ways you can do this. Quick, stand up and change chairs with your partner. See, if you sit still, with your partner, You swap over there. No, you jump over there. You jump there. You can jump there. See, there's two big drives in everybody, sex and territory. When you get to my age, bed and shed. If you leave people sitting too long, they just don't get it, right? They'll sit there going, yeah, that's cool, good, walk out. What did you learn? Nothing. You've got to physically change the map. Structuring and delivering lessons is the big deal. It starts with the hook, and the plenary today is just going to be a shed load of hooks. Really cool things. Great clips that make you go, oh, never seen that before, that's awesome. Little things that make you go, gee, I wonder how that works. Here's a prop. I bought this in Albany. Could you imagine that throwing to a student? You've got to answer before you get killed. I'm going to pull a pin. Answer it quick. That's a hook. They would love it. Work it out. Things that you got. That was $3. That's not expensive, right? Little things to get their attention rather than yell. It's the whistle disco hammer. It plays disco music. Can you remember that great disco hit, The Hustle? Do the hustle, yeah! I thought it was good. But, you know, stuff like that. Hooks can be anything, but how do you grab kids and bring them in? What do you get people at the start of the lesson? What makes them go, oh, I'm pleased I turned up today? Then you name the steps. This is what we're going to do today. I'm naming the steps. Here is what great teaching makes. Then I learn how to capture what's on the board and into paper. Whatever I am teaching you up here, how do you capture that? Now, these days, it's getting harder because it used to be all paper, didn't it? They may capture this on their phone. If you're working with low literacy kids, they may not even put pen to paper for months until you get something out of it. So how do I capture that? Where does this learning go to? Is it part of this? And do you circulate? See, I have to stand still here or else we'll just drive this poor man with that beautiful camera inside. by moving around too much. Great lecturers move around. They talk to people. They get out. They get shoulder to shoulder. They look side by side. They help people out. They circulate. And when they found a kid with a problem, they break it down. Okay, let's do it this bit here. Name the steps is how we're going. Break it down is get to that detail. And great lessons. You change the ratio.
Sorry, can you please repeat 4 M's as a message I'm getting?
4 M's.
Yep.
Made first. Nod. Most important. Measurable and meaningful. Ta-da! Awesome. Now, when we're structuring lessons, we've got to change the ratio. That's why I said turn to your partner and talk to them. How many lectures are all about one lecture talking and nobody processing? That's why I gave you a partner. Because you talk about it, you're more likely to keep it. How do we get them to talk? How do we get them to learn it? Check for understanding. I like nods. I'm looking in this room. I can see the nods. People down the tube, nod. It's part of the deal. I expect my students to nod so I can check for understanding. You got this. And if you can't, I want to know so I can explain. Now, when we look at this, you go back here. This is direct instructions. The hook, well, hang on, I better do it up here. The hook is I do. Name the steps. I do. Board and paper. You do. You get it from me. We start to we do. I've got it up here. You get it down there. Circulate. We do. Break it down. We do that together. Here we've got we do, ratio, they talk you, check for understanding. Now we're getting into the you do. At bats, give them lots of chances to practice it. Exit ticket, don't let them out until they prove that they've learnt it. Lock the door, stand in front of it. Tell you what, they answer then. And take a stand. That's take a stand. Stand is a different guy. Stand, where they stand up and explain their language, where they start teaching it to other people, where they can be questioned. How you going with that? Got these? Quick, turn to your partner and tell them one thing that you liked out of those 2 pages. Just one thing, quick. I'll click between the 2. There's lots of good ones in this one. Now we got 5 minutes, guys, to get through a lot. Okay, let's pick on some people. Give me one strategy that you liked. Ratio. Get them to talk involved. Give me another one. The hook. The hook is awesome. You'll get lots of those this afternoon. Right up the back. No opt-out's a big one. And that's involved in all of these, because if you got opt-out, all of these are going to be hard to do. So, engaging students. That's totally changed it again. We changed format when it put onto the computer, onto the thing. Engaging students, cold call. That is, no hands up, I'm calling anybody. Call and response. I use a lot of this. If I say class, you say yes. How I say class, you say yes. Let's try that. Class. Yes. Yes. Class. Yes. Class. Yes. Class. Yes. Class. Yes. Class. Yes. Gangman style. Hey, see? I got you dancing. Call and response works particularly if you want to get through stuff. Pepper is when I question people quickly. How about it? What's the answer for this? Give me an answer over here. Work it through. Wait time. If you don't have hands up, you can't get wait time. If you have hands up, you can't get wait time because they're butting in. You want, oh, me. That's what you want. And then everybody writes. When they're writing, don't have some people writing and some people don't. If you want quality writing, they all write at the same time. Silent, head down, butt up, facing away. And Vegas, da 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 da. Have some fun. Sing, dance. I reward kids with instant applause. You did a great job. You get a 1 second round of applause. That's it. You were tremendous. You get a 7 second party. You did it all right. 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 2 hands. You did it all right. And I get everybody to do it and to start off with a go. And then one day you do it and they all go, I never do it, right? Got these? I'm really pounding now. Here we go. We're tailed the turn. This is a symbol for power takeoff. Do not get caught up in the machinery. If you have got bad, strong workplace culture, it kills you. It'll twist you out of shape. This is where the bullying takes place. So in a good, strong workplace culture, you have an entry routine. When they come in, they know what to do. There's something on their desk to do now. Do it straight away. Before you come in, there's always something on your desk to do. Tight transitions. You're giving out paper, it's done in 10 seconds. Instead of, here you go, this one's for you, and I'm going to give you one. What are you doing today? And we waste half an hour. Binder control. You keep your places, you keep materials in a place and it's well looked after. I've got to end now. Can I keep going a little bit? Will you? Huge trouble. I'll do this real quick. Slant. Blame me. Slant is sit up, lean forward, ask questions, nod along, track the teacher, track the person who's talking. Now, the reason why we need that is everybody should have a common way of getting attention. On your marks means, have you got all your materials ready? Ready to go. On your marks. Who's got kids who don't bring anything? If they don't bring anything, you've got to get ready for them. My rule is, if you borrow my pen, I want your shoe. Get a few barefoot, pantsless people, but they don't they bring stuff next time. Seat signals, instead of talking, nod, point. Okay, Bob, I'll be there soon. And props. Have some fun stuff.
I was sent to get, they said if I won't get a bouncer.
It's okay. I didn't think you bounced.
The next section starts at 2, Greg.
Okay, we're right, we're just there. I just got to do 2 more slides. There you go, you got those? That's the high behavioural expectations. Have a quick look. And last one. Do you want to know what J factor is? Yes. Joy. Have we had a bit of joy? Yeah. Very, very little bit of joy, but we tried to do it quick. Bob knew as soon as he hired me we were going to have trouble with time because I suffer from enthusiasm. I've got jokes that last longer than this session, right? But we tried, didn't we? We did. So what we need, if we're going to succeed, is this. We need some focus, right? We need awareness of what we're doing. We're going to need to repeat the strategies until we get it, right? And then we need to celebrate what we do. I got this from a very famous Australian trainer in the United States. Yes, it says FARC. So next time you have a difficult class, you don't go, what you do is you turn to your partner and say, I'm a FARCer and you're a FARCer too. Because that's what you do. We need focus, awareness, repetition and celebration if we're going to improve our organisations. And we've got to focus on the things that matter. If you love this stuff and you want to make a difference, Send a 16 gig USB to me and I will send you all of these materials. There it is there. I will download 500 hooks, a stack of great websites, and anything else that I find cool, because I've stolen it somewhere, you may as well steal it too. Also, I will download all of the notes on Teach Like a Champion and all of the things which are available in the public domain. You can buy the book, but you don't need to. There's been a new one of it come out next year, and it's got 62 strategies because they've taken and added and improved because they've used them in their classrooms now and they know what works and works it through. Do you think it's a great framework? Tell your partner that they're wonderful. Now go away because they told me to stop. Thank you.
Authorised by the Government of Western Australia, Perth.